So in my so in my previous video, I shared something that got me thinking. And the thought was that I prefer sharing personal stories, which could be pretty, let's say, I don't know, intimate information. I don't know how to describe it or categorize it. I prefer sharing it with strangers rather than with people who know me. And like literally 5 minutes ago, I had this thought why that could be the case. It doesn't mean that is an absolute truth, but as a thought exercise, I don't need emotional involvement of people into my life because I'm pretty efficient in solving, I wouldn't say my own problems, because there are just practical things that are better to be solved with the help of others. Like, I don't know, if I have a toothache, I cannot fix it on my own, so it's not that type of problem. But I mean, everything emotional, everything that touches me or raises question within me, everything internal. So I've never seen, even at this point, I would doubt there is a therapist or a coach who can help me better navigate my inner world and what I feel and process things than what I do. I do appreciate a good conversation with a different type of opinion, but that's like, that's the, I'm looking for the right word here. So for me, it's more like conversations, more like a tool of self-discovery rather than a source of a solution. But with close people, people who know me, who know some context, at least some context, they get involved and they care. And it's a valid reaction. I appreciate the care, but I am efficient on my own. What I need is the thinking through. What I need is a little bit of a detached perspective, respectful, obviously, caring to a degree that the person cares not to, let's say, I don't know, not to dismiss my thought to that degree. But that's more of a quality of a person that I talk to rather than the type of relationship. So yeah, but anyone and everyone who is in my life, and again, and that's why I'm pretty selective with people. I'm pretty selective with women in my life who, like, women, I think quite often they prefer to be emotionally involved. They care, like, with their whole being. Nah, probably this is why I preferred having friends, like making friends with men, because of that, like, natural detachment and different perspective. So I need different perspective and I need detachment to think through things. And I really, 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 I cannot tolerate people trying to solve my problems. Sometimes, quite often, they do it out of the good of their hearts, and it makes sense. And I think I'm learning to just to accept it as is. I don't think I'm that sensitive to it now. But yeah, this is why I prefer strangers over people who are close to me, because yesterday I felt this tension, I felt this thing that I wanted to think through or just get it out there. It was just something I needed to think through the feeling, because everything in my life first it comes as a feeling of tension, feeling of misalignment, or on the contrary, alignment that feels new. So everything comes as a feeling, and I need to take time to make sense of that feeling and like translate it into, not only into words, but into a sequence of events, into a cause and effect connection, because it matters to me, because I see the world like nothing is separate. How I feel and what happens in my life, it's pretty similar to what happens in other people's lives. They process it differently, they see it differently, they may feel it some way differently, although that is questionable. I'm not sure. I have a hypothesis that people feel things the same, but they translate the feeling differently. So we feel the tension, we feel the weight, we feel incongruence, or we feel warmth or comfort or peace. However, how we translate it and how we connect it to that chain of events like cause and effect, that is cultural. That is very much conditional from and based on history, based on family history, cultural history, everything that the person learned. And that is very true, because even, let's say, people feel things, people break up, people fall in love, but some cultures have more words for love. Some people have, so some cultures prefer, prioritize things like shame and have a lot attached to it, etc., etc. So, and again, I'm so, gosh, I'm annoyed when I'm unprepared and I cannot quote the right line from the book that I read about how different cultures feel things. I'm annoyed by that, but this is kind of a downside of this freestyle thing. When I had a thought, turned on the camera, and I just speak. One day I will remember the facts or will be preparing. I'm annoyed with myself at this point. Anyway, so I have a hypothesis that people feel things the same way. However, how they understand it, how they translate it, how they label it, may be different. It is different for sure. Maybe they even feel things different because they were taught to feel. And frankly, I know how it feels like to be taught a certain emotion, like shame or whatever. So, my job, the one that I assigned to myself, what I'm curious about is, I feel things deeply, all of the things. And as I'm thinking about it, I strongly feel misalignment. Like, I'm pretty sensitive if something is off. And again, thank God it's about me, because if I was sensitive, if I was like that much vigilant about what is off about other people, I'd be probably paranoid and pretty much not quite in the right mind. But I'm focused on what I feel because I have the most information about myself. I cannot, and frankly, I think it's impossible because of the difference of how people. I cannot know technically how other feel, and I don't know their history affecting them. So guessing about other people is the most useless thing in a way. However, I think it could be done to a certain degree, but if the person who's guessing is careful or have really sharp skills of claircognizance or whatever, any of Claire's. So, and I'm back to feeling. I feel my own misalignment sharply, and it brought a lot of overwhelm into my childhood, into the part of my life which was like decades of my life when I wasn't too aware of this process, when I wasn't analyzing it too much. I was just living it, and the life felt not great. Now, when I'm aware of the feeling and I know how to work with this tension that I occasionally feel, I know how to work through this, I know how to process it and move on. Doesn't make my life better. It makes my life more understandable, clear. It doesn't make my life like absolutely easy, and I always feel cheerful and light, and no, because what I notice is that life doesn't stop, and life actually gives an opportunity to grow to a degree that you can process it. So if the person has a capacity to process one question or one, let's say, life lesson or whatever, in a year, that would happen. One thing in a month, that would happen. If I'm processing things daily, like this loop of tension, then understanding what that tension is about, then the new perspective on the thing, then implementation, like integration it into life, maybe the action that follows. That loop for me, that cycle of evolution on a micro level. So it's not anything major, but it's daily and it's conscious and it's ongoing. And the tension is back quite often. So it's kind of my life. But it's clear. I see the benefit of it. It's like when you work out, your muscles get sore, but you're aware of the reason why. Like, you know, you're building your strength and you see the result. This is how my tension works. So I know I feel things. I know I feel misalignment with whatever is going on in my life. I translate it into words. I connect the dots. I realize how things can be done or seen a little bit, you know, in a, I don't want to say better way, but in a higher way. I'm not sure if I can understand it practically. Let's say from self-worth and worth of others, from supporting others and not losing myself, not dissolving into others. So it's like my goal is to see all the people in the same way, people who have committed something horrible, like people who committed crimes, and people who are the most holiest, whatever, people who have nothing and live on the streets, and people who are the richest of the rich and have all the power. My goal is to see them the same way and not to change my attitude towards them so my attitude towards them not to be conditional of what they do. And again, people quite often question this concept. They're like, especially when I simplify it to a phrase, I want to treat everyone the same. But what I mean by that is not to support everything the same or do the similar things for others. More like see everyone as worthy as a human being, and act according to the situation. So obviously, if I'm witness of a crime, I will report it. But the difference for me, people have this, like normally other people, they have this gradation of acceptability of the action. And by that I mean some lies are acceptable, some are kind of acceptable depending on the situation, depending on the relationship. So if someone close to me does it, maybe it's fine. If someone that I don't like does it, it's not fine. Or in some cases, like, it's unacceptable. So people have all the gray areas and all the conditions around things. I'm like, no, we're all humans, and rules that apply, not rules as an imposed rules, but how life works, that applies to everyone. For example, people change through love, people don't change through hate. Not really. So figuring out the universal way of treating others, seeing others, but not being led by others, not allowing them to do whatever the hell they want. Respectfully act according to the situation. That is my challenge. So I'm trying to figure out that in my life. Like, for example, for me, it wouldn't matter if someone hurt other person. It wouldn't matter this is the person that I love more than my life, or this is my child, or this is my a relative, or this is a stranger, or this is a person who has nothing, or this person who has everything. This is a person who has some power over me, or is powerless, beautiful or not so beautiful. It shouldn't matter. So if I see something that I consider to be a low choice, like hurting others, that includes myself, that includes others, that includes everyone. So for me, it's a universal thing. And you would say, oh, Anna, would you report on your, I don't know, child if they did something? Yes, I would. And I think that's the right thing. So, but again, it highly depends on what else could be done, obviously, because the closeness of the person to me, there's a person who's a stranger, and obviously I have limited context. If the person is someone really, really close to me, maybe I have other options to, I'd say, change something, or I don't know, stop them or whatever. Hopefully I will never be in that type of situation, but I think about it a lot. I think about edge cases, I think about extreme cases. I have plenty of books about violence, and because I'm trying to make sense how that happens, how people go there, how people become that, how people make that choice. I don't believe that those are damaged people. Like, my goal is to see human in them anyway. It's fine that others prefer the easy way of just labeling them as a bad person and moving on with their lives. But I think that that is unproductive. It doesn't allow us to solve the problem. So I'm not sure if you can read the name of the books that are in the background, whatever. So I have quite I have a lot of research, and here's the research about World War World War II, Auschwitz, and everything like that. So yeah, I'm trying to figure out. I'm seeing the similarities, and the similarities are there absolutely. And eventually, I will be bringing that up and bringing it to you guys. And that's why I have all those books in hard copy, because I will, as I read through them, I will show you, like, my goal is to show the audience, show people, random people on the internet, that some horrific things that we label as, I don't know, something exceptional and related to a certain damaged person. Those things are happening in real life, and we just accept it because we see it as minor. And for me, nothing is minor. For me, the tiny bit of anger in me as much is important as much as anger that leads to violence. Because what I strongly believe in, and I have noticed it in I don't know, I've learned it experientially in a way, so I know how the anger, like strong anger, feels like when people are hurt and they wish death upon others. Many do that. They will never do the thing, they will never actually hurt anyone. But many people in wars, like Ukrainians, wish death on upon some the other side, or the governments that cause wars, etc., etc. So people are in that emotion, and it is considered acceptable. For me, it is not. So for me, emotion and how I see things is very different from the action. If it is war and someone has to protect their home, they are protecting their home. But hating someone and enjoying it, having that perspective, that lens in them, for me, that's unacceptable. For me. But it's not the easy thing. I wasn't born like that. I was feeling the feelings, feeling anger, hating people, and this, frankly, I don't know why people hate, honestly. Probably because they never get to the point when they don't. And because now when I don't hate, I would never go back, because it's such a, that's like sticking a knife in your own heart and going about your day with it. It's such a poison with, like, inside of you. And again, it doesn't mean that you cannot think about the solution, how to stop people who cause harm. Like, action and hatred is very different. And I started from emotional reaction from my friends. I'm not sure if I'm using the right words, but there's emotion, like the lens, the perspective, good or bad, painting something a certain color, and there's a feeling. And the feeling is mostly somatic. And quite often, well, for me, it doesn't have any label attached to it. And then I unfolded it into cause and effect. And I upgrade my thinking, upgrade my worldview on the base of what I found. But people are always, like, not always, sorry, often trapped in their emotions, into the reaction, into those things that we label anger, hatred, resentment, whatever. I don't feel that. I know how to detach from that. And again, I could feel that. Sometimes I feel that. And whenever I catch it, I detach from it. And then I have this clarity. And the tension within me is mostly about what can I do? What can I change? What is the next step that I can take to change the situation, to be different, to be at least one person who doesn't do that. And frankly, I think that's the only way to change those things, those triggers, however small they are, within ourselves. And when enough people do that, that will be the change. The change doesn't come from government. The change doesn't come with new policy or new president. Never, because those people, like new president, new government, those are just people like us. They do feel the feelings. They have their own let's say life learnings, like things they need to process and go through, and they have their own history, they have their own lens, and those lenses quite often are distorted. And we are the same, but we cannot change them, and changing them into another person with a different set of lens doesn't change anything. The only thing that could actually work is working with the self. And yeah, I prefer clarity, and I prefer more or less practical solution. And my inner world and everything that I process, that thing is, I don't want close involvement into that. However, I see it as a good use case. I see it as a good story and example of processing things, because I think quite a few, if not all, can benefit from it, from that skill, like learning from life. And that's one of the core things in my philosophy, I guess, like authorship of your own life and learning from your own life. But you cannot author your own life if you don't learn through that. And that's kind of the whole point. That's the only point in being here and having a body and moving through life. No, not having fun. No, not another Netflix series. No, not another party. No, even not money. Not comfort, but learning. Just different people, they learn through different things, and that's actually what makes us all the same. We just learn through different things. Some learn through heavier things, some learn through lighter things, but everyone contributes to the whole picture. And my own contribution should matter more than anything, what I bring into the world, rather than, oh, it's you. Anyway, I think this is all that I wanted to say. I'll be back if I think of something else.